All right, so today we're diving into lottery cashier interviews, and we've got RoleCatcher's resources to help us really understand what it takes to stand out.
And it's not just about getting the job, it's about setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we've got their career guide, their interview guide, and even some AI insights to help us along the way. Should be a fun ride.
It's like having a cheat sheet, but with insider knowledge.
Okay, I like that. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of interview questions, let's paint a picture for our listeners. What does a lottery cashier actually do?
Well, you might think it's just about handing out tickets and cashing in winners.
Right. Seems pretty straightforward.
But there's actually a lot more to it. When you think about it, you're dealing with cash, often large amounts, so accuracy is super important.
You don't want to be short at the end of the day.
Exactly. And there are procedures for preventing money laundering, paying out those big prizes, verifying IDs. It's fast-paced. You're constantly interacting with customers. It's a pretty dynamic role.
So what about the work environment itself? What should someone be prepared for?
Well, picture a bustling casino or a busy lottery retailer. It can be noisy. There's a lot going on.
Definitely not a quiet office job.
Right. And you'll likely be on your feet for long periods. And remember, evenings and weekends are prime time for lottery sales. So that's something to consider.
That's a great point. So let's say someone is totally new to this. What does RoleCatcher recommend for getting started?
They actually suggest seeking out part-time positions at lottery retailers or even casinos. It's
Yeah.
all about getting that hands-on experience.
Makes sense. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and it shows potential employers that you're serious about this line of work.
Okay, so now let's talk about RoleCatcher's AI, because this is where it gets really interesting. They use AI to analyze job descriptions and help you tailor your resume and cover letter. Can you unpack that a bit for us?
Sure. So imagine this. You found a lottery cashier job that you're really excited about. You upload the job description to RoleCatcher, and their AI gets to work. It scans the description, identifying keywords and skills that the employer is looking for.
It's like having a personal resume assistant, but it's powered by AI.
Exactly. And then it compares those keywords and skills to your existing resume and cover letter.
So it's not just about having the right experience, it's about highlighting it in a way that gets noticed.
Precisely. And if it finds any gaps, it'll actually suggest ways to strengthen your language or highlight relevant experiences.
So you're not just guessing what employers want, you're getting data-driven insights to make your application stand out. I love that.
And here's another cool thing. It helps you optimize your resume for applicant tracking systems. You know those algorithms companies use to filter applications?
Yeah, those can be a bit of a mystery.
Right. But RoleCatcher's AI helps you crack the code, so to speak, and make sure your resume is structured in a way that those systems can easily read and understand.
That's a serious edge in getting noticed.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got the big picture now. Let's dive into those interview questions. I know we want to spend a good chunk of our time here because this is where people often get nervous.
For sure. It's one thing to have the skills and experience, but it's another to articulate them effectively in an interview setting.
Right. So let's start with the classic. Can you tell us about your experience handling cash transactions?
Seems straightforward enough, but what are they really getting at here?
They're looking for evidence of your accuracy, your responsibility, and your comfort level with handling money. Think about it. They're entrusting you with their cash, so they want to make sure you're someone they can trust.
Makes sense. So it's not just about saying, I've worked as a cashier before. You need to go deeper.
Exactly. Give them specifics. Have you used cash registers, point-of-sale systems? What about procedures for counting cash or balancing a drawer? The more details you can provide, the better.
And don't forget about those quantifiable achievements. Have you ever balanced your cash drawer perfectly every shift? Were you commended for your accuracy? Those details can really make you stand out.
Absolutely. Now here's where RoleCatcher's AI can be super helpful. Imagine practicing your response to this question and getting feedback on whether you're using strong action verbs, quantifying your achievements, and highlighting the skills they're looking for.
It's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
It really is. Okay, so let's move on to another common question that often follows that first one. Interviewers might ask, what methods do you use to ensure accuracy when handling cash?
So they want to understand your process, your attention to detail.
Exactly. Think about the nitty-gritty. Do you double count the money? Use a calculator to verify totals. What about checking bills for authenticity? Anything that shows you're not just going through the motions, but actively preventing errors.
And this is where your experience with specific systems or procedures can really shine. Did you use a particular cash handling software in a previous role? Mention it.
Absolutely. The more specific you can be, the more credible you'll sound. Again, RoleCatcher's AI can be incredibly helpful here. It can analyze your practice responses, identifying any areas where you could be more specific or provide more compelling examples.
So it's like having a virtual customer service trainer helping you master those tricky interactions.
Yeah, amazing.
Amazing. Okay, so we've talked about accuracy, but what about those inevitable customer interactions? What kind of question should someone expect around that?
A very common one is, how do you handle customer complaints or issues with lottery tickets? Interviewers are trying to assess your empathy, your problem-solving skills, and how you turn a negative situation into a positive one.
Because let's face it, people buying lottery tickets can be a passionate bunch, especially if they think there's an issue with their ticket.
Absolutely. The key here is to demonstrate your ability to listen, remain calm, and find a resolution that leaves the customer feeling heard and respected, even if they didn't win the jackpot.
And don't be afraid to share a specific example. Did you ever have to explain the rules of a game to a confused customer? Or help someone who lost their ticket? Those anecdotes bring your skills to life.
Right. And with RoleCatcher's AI, you can even practice these scenarios, getting feedback on your tone of voice, your choice of words, and your overall approach. It helps you fine-tune those subtle nuances that can make a big difference.
It's like having a virtual customer service trainer in your pocket. I'm loving this. Okay, what other customer-focused questions might come up?
Well, think about the lottery environment. There are often long lines, and people can get impatient. So a question like, how do you prioritize tasks when there are multiple customers waiting in line is very likely. It's all about showing those time management skills and how you stay calm under pressure.
Right, because nobody likes a long wait, especially when they have dreams of hitting it big.
Exactly. You need to balance moving quickly with staying accurate and making sure each customer feels valued.
So how do you strike that balance? What would a good answer sound like?
You could try something like, I always acknowledge each customer as they come in, even if I can't help them right away, and I try to work efficiently without sacrificing accuracy. If the line's getting really long, I'd call for backup or maybe open another register.
That shows initiative and that you're a team player.
I like it.
I like it. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI comes in handy again, right? It can assess those soft skills.
Oh, absolutely. Remember, their AI analyzes not just what you're saying, but how you're saying it.
It's like having a performance coach right there.
Exactly. You can practice conveying that sense of calm even when you're describing a stressful situation.
I see a pattern here. RoleCatcher's AI really is a secret weapon for the whole process.
It really is. And while we're on the topic of potentially tricky situations, let's talk about a question that can trip people up. How do you handle cash discrepancies or errors when you're balancing the drawer?
Oh, yeah. Nobody's perfect, but how do you show that you're responsible and can handle those moments?
Honesty is key. And having a system, acknowledge that mistakes happen, but emphasize how you double-check your work review transactions and immediately report any issues to your supervisor following the correct procedures.
And this is where experience with those cash counting machines or specific POS systems is so valuable.
Exactly. Mentioning those details shows you're familiar with the industry standards and take the procedures seriously.
Okay, let's take a step back for a second and look at RoleCatcher's career guide. It mentions some pros and cons of being a lottery cashier. What are some challenges people might encounter?
Well, dealing with difficult customers is a given. Not everyone's going to be a happy winner. And the guide also mentions the repetitive nature of some tasks and the potential for long hours, especially during those busy periods.
So it's not all sunshine and roses,
Yeah.
but what are the upsides? What does RoleCatcher say about that?
Flexibility is a big one. These positions often have flexible hours, which is perfect for students or anyone who needs a non-traditional schedule.
Plus, you get to interact with people all day long, which can be fun if you're a people person.
And don't forget, stay up to date on those games and promotions.
Ah, that's a great point. How might that come up in an interview?
An interviewer might ask something like, how do you stay informed about our lottery games and current promotions?
So don't just say, I'll check the website.
Right. Be more proactive. Mention regularly checking the lottery's website or maybe even subscribing to newsletters. You want to demonstrate you're engaged.
You could even talk about how much you enjoy learning about new games or helping customers find the right ticket.
Exactly. Showcase that enthusiasm and genuine interest. Now, let's not forget that this whole deep dive is about giving you an edge. RoleCatcher's AI can help you refine your answers and how you deliver them.
We've been talking about it throughout the episode, but can you remind us how it works?
It's like having a personal interview coach. You practice answering those common questions, record yourself, and the AI analyzes everything: your content, your tone, your pace.
So it's about how you say it as much as what you say.
Exactly. And by practicing with the AI, you can identify areas where you could be more concise, more engaging, more impactful.
Okay, so we've covered interview prep pretty extensively, but before we wrap things up, what does RoleCatcher say about career paths for lottery cashiers?
Their career guide suggests that this isn't just a job. It can actually be a stepping stone to various career paths within the gaming industry.
So you're not just stuck at the counter forever. What kind of paths are we talking about?
A common one is moving into a supervisory role. As you gain experience and show leadership skills like managing people, delegating tasks, resolving conflicts, you could get promoted to lead a team of cashiers or manage a whole department.
And those leadership skills are useful in any industry.
Absolutely. Now, if you're interested in something more specialized, RoleCatcher suggests further education.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Well, background in accounting could lead to roles in finance or auditing within the gaming industry. And if you're passionate about security and preventing fraud, you could explore opportunities in law enforcement related to gaming.
Wow, so many possibilities. It's inspiring to think that starting as a lottery cashier can lead to so many different careers.
It's about setting goals, continuing to learn, and taking those opportunities you never know where they might lead.
All right, we've covered a lot today, from understanding the role and mastering those interview questions to exploring career paths and using AI. But there's one last question we need to address: how to handle those large sums of money that are part of the job.
That's an important one. Interviewers want to know you understand the responsibility and can follow procedures.
So what kind of question should we be prepared for?
They might ask, can you walk me through handling a large cash deposit, ensuring accuracy and security?
And that's where knowing company policies and procedures is key.
Exactly. Be ready to explain verifying IDs, completing forms, adhering to transaction limits, and documenting everything meticulously. Show you understand the importance of security and following the rules.
And if you're not 100% sure about a procedure, what do you do?
You can always say, I'd refer to the company guidelines to make sure I'm doing it correctly.
Shows you're careful and want to do things the right way. All right, I think we've armed our listeners with some serious interview firepower. But before we move on to our final thoughts, let's talk about RoleCatcher one more time. They offer something amazing for practicing these scenarios, right?
Right. Their AI-powered mock interview simulator, you can actually go through a virtual interview and answer questions tailored to the lottery cashier role.
Wait, so it's like a whole interview experience.
Exactly. And you get feedback from the AI on your performance. It highlights what you did well and where you could improve.
That's incredible. So you're not walking in blind? You're getting real-time feedback and fine-tuning your approach.
It's about taking control of your preparation and building confidence knowing you've put in the work.
I love that. Okay, I think we've covered those interview questions from all angles now. Let's move on to our closing thoughts and give our listeners some final words of wisdom.
We've talked about the skills, the interview questions, the career paths, but there's one thing we haven't mentioned directly.
And it's super important.
Enthusiasm. You could have a perfect resume and ace all the questions, but without it, something's missing.
Right. It's like if you were interviewing two candidates with the same qualifications, but one was clearly passionate about the lottery and customer service, who would you choose?
It's a no-brainer. Enthusiasm is contagious, it shows you're invested, and you'll bring positive energy to the job.
So how can our listeners show that enthusiasm in the interview?
Research is key. Get to know the company, their values, what kind of games they offer. Maybe share a personal story about winning something, or how you enjoy the excitement of those scratch-off tickets.
Those little touches make you memorable.
Exactly. And during the interview, let your personality shine through. Talk about why you like interacting with people or why the lottery industry is interesting.
It's a two-way street. You're seeing if they're a good fit for you, too. Let your enthusiasm be your guide.
And research actually shows that candidates who express genuine enthusiasm are more likely to get job offers.
So to wrap up our deep dive today, we've used RoleCatcher's resources to understand the lottery cashier role and gain an advantage in the interview process. We've tackled those tough questions, shared insider tips, and seen how AI can help.
But confidence comes from practice. Use what we discussed today to refine your approach and walk into that interview with a positive attitude.
And one final thought. Don't be afraid to let your personality shine through when you genuinely connect with the role it shows, and that can make all the difference. Good luck out there.